the possibility of a three-peat. What does that mean to you? That's some deep shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's legacy. It's a competitive nature. It's I actually got this man in the arena quote behind me, and it's everything that just encompasses. It's about that competitive edge and knowing you're getting everybody's best shot week in and week out, and still coming out on top. There's no shortcuts to it. We know how tough it's going to be. Is no one's going to roll over for us. But the challenge of it is how you write your name in history, man. So this is just legacy for us to do something that's never been done before, and that's what sports is about.
All right, without further ado, we have Justin Reid joining us now. Tremendous player, one of those like glue guys on one of the best defenses in the NFL. In my opinion, it was the best defense in the NFL last year, and they got the hardware for it. And now they got a ring ceremony tonight, so we caught Justin at or after the barbershop. What's going on now?
Yeah, kind of right in the middle. Just got the front done and getting the sides and the back done after we finish up.
All right, so my first question is, before we talk chess, who's got the worst haircut on the Kansas City Chiefs?
The worst haircut? Oh, boy. Unfortunately, we have some competition there.
Yes, you do. I got a couple guys in mind.
But only because I love him so much and I love talking shit. I'm going to say my guy, Josh Williams, man. Josh, we're gonna get you right, Josh.
I got to look at Josh Williams' his sunroof here. Is it a hairline issue, or is he just hasn't been in a while? Wow.
Yeah, it's just a little, maybe like a little bit of like a head shape thing too.
It's a head shape thing, dude. You'll be excited to know there's also a NASCAR driver with a fucking fantastic haircut. If you Google Josh Williams, this guy's got a Tennessee waterfall behind him. Maybe your Josh Williams go with something like that. Hey, we want to talk chess, dude, because you're one of the best football playing chess players in the world, I would imagine.
So chess.com put on BlitzChamps 3, and Justin Reid was the champ. You swept Kyler in the finals.
Was it a sweep?
I mean, is Kyler light work? Did he get there accidentally? Like, how much resistance did you face from Kyler?
I had a little bit of I had two advantages. One is I'm competitive and I want to win at everything. So I hired a grandmaster that coached me up like the month leading up to this competition. And he even showed me like how to watch my opponents' games that they've been playing and like get a feel for the type of players they are. That, and then I played them in the semifinal before playing them again in the grand final. And since I had some time in my hand, I got the chance to scout our first set of games.
Yeah.
And then I got to see like, hey, I probably could have made this move better. And then the second time around, I used the same opening. He used the same opening. So I kind of knew exactly what I was going to do at that point. So,
damn, dude,
that's brilliant.
He had him dead to rights. Kyler didn't even know it. This is
good stuff.
Well, congrats, man. And I guess for people at home, this is where it's interesting for me, likening it to football. If we went on your team and I was like, all right, who's the king? Would I be wrong in saying it's Mahomes?
Yeah, well, probably Coach Reid.
Coach Reid. We were going to say it's one
but
or
your
two.
Most powerful piece is your queen. So, not to say he's a queen or a prima donna, but Mahomes is the queen.
Yeah,
he the best piece on the board.
I had it as, and I took Reid out of it. I had Mahomes as the king because the king's really powerful in the fourth quarter, from what I understand. And the king on the field for y'all he's the fucking man in the fourth quarter. And then his queen would be Kelsey. His queen would be Kelsey. I think I have a piece for you. What kind of piece do you think you are?
You know what? I feel like I'm a little bit of a knight.
That's the one.
Yeah, because I kind of do a lot of different stuff. I can move around the field in different ways, play different positions. I kick, play safety. Can't throw that well, but if you want me to do that, I'll try.
We'd like to see it, man. We've seen you do a lot of stuff at a pretty high level. Is a rook like Hollywood Brown?
You know what? Yeah, Hollywood. Yeah, I put him as a rook. Hollywood's a rook. Really, man, all those guys are rooks and bishops because they travel across the board so fast. Chris Jones is probably, you know what I mean. If you want to have a defense or offensive side of the board, but if we all at one team and Kelsey's queen already, then Chris Jones is going to have to be the other rook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the pawns are the big guys. And we don't mean that in a way that like the pawns are important, right? And chess are important.
Nah, pawns are the backbone of chess.
Yeah. So
any chess player will tell you the backbone of the chessboard are the pawns. So, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. The Joe Thuneys of the world.
You would not believe what I'm holding back.
What are you holding
regarding Chris Jones?
What?
I should hold it back.
Okay, hold it back.
Yeah.
Does it have to do with the combine?
Has to do with the piece.
Okay. All right. Don't even, bro. All right. Okay. So he's like, yeah, I got to laugh. All right. Fucking the next thing is I and we just talked about this. You're good at like almost everything you do. You said throwing, not so much. But you get out there in the softball field recently, and I hear it was mixed reviews. How's your softball game? Is softball harder than chess?
Actually, I used to play pitcher. So throwing in baseball, I'm actually halfway decent at.
Yeah.
But batting was rough.
Dude, it's a whole different game. I've been playing for 3 years in this city league now that I'm washed up, and it's not a baseball swing. Everything you're taught in baseball is wrong. It's like you got to extend your arms and almost like lift the ball. You know what I mean? And when I had that moment, I started hitting dingers.
I started, and for me too, I've been playing a lot of golf lately.
Yeah.
And I was putting like my golf swing mechanics into it, and
yeah,
I was just swinging too low, you know.
Dude,
yeah.
Once you figure it out before you retire, because it's pretty good retirement activity is hopping in one of these leagues. Okay, I want to talk some ball, man. I mean, obviously, the last time I talked to you, you popped on Inside the NFL, and we loved having you on. And at that point, it hadn't happened yet. You guys go on this amazing run on the road. Everybody counting you out, except for me.
That's
okay,
right.
on the
That's
record,
right.
national media.
Respect.
Bro, I was all over it. I almost want to play you the clip. I'm like, you think these guys forgot how to play football in January? These guys are playing possum. You get in the playoffs, you make that run, but now it's like you're chasing history, right? The possibility of a three-peat.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to you? That's some deep shit.
Yeah. I mean, it's legacy. It's a competitive nature. It's I actually got this man in the arena quote behind me, and it's everything that just encompasses. It's about that competitive edge and knowing you're getting everybody's best shot week in and week out and still coming out on top. There's no shortcuts to it. We know how tough it's going to be. No one's going to roll over for us. But the challenge of it is how you write your name in history, man. So this is just legacy for us to do something that's never been done before, and that's what sports is about.
I can remember when we won the thing, it was like you come back in the offseason and some of the young guys, it's like a totally different team. It's like they forgot what it took to get there. And I'm not saying that every team doesn't go through that, and it's natural. But what are the forces you have to fight against as a leader?
The most important thing that's been working in our benefit, because I've also been on teams like that earlier in my career, that we've been successful and just assume it's going to be the same way, and then the next year you get steamrolled. Is that our leadership has been very critical, very determined, very, very detailed in the approach of not allowing that to creep in. Myself, Chris Jones, Mahomes, Kelsey. When your leaders don't relax and when your leaders are still pushing the issue and don't allow it to say, hey, this just happens naturally, then everyone else kind of falls in line. But if your leaders kind of take their foot off the pedal, then everyone else will too. So I think that we're fortunate in that, the mentality of this team is really strong. And we have some experience, myself having been on winning and losing teams and seeing the difference there. Our defensive coordinator, Spagnuolo, who had a top 2 defense before, and the next year they're 27th. He's been driving that home almost daily for us we finished top 3, not to have that same fall off. And just to know what we're chasing for. So that's what it's going to come down to, because the margins between wins and losses, especially now, it's just so small, man. And anything that you take your foot off the pedal for could end up being the difference.
And I remember we started 4-6 off the Super Bowl, and then we were a play or two away. and it's like
Mhm.
it's late in the year, it kind of clicks, and you're like, yeah, I remember who we are, and for you guys, there were so many. It wasn't like there was just one slump. It was like one step forward, a step back. There were some games I know were really disappointing to y'all. I wonder where you thought the turning point was. I have something in mind because I watched all your games, and I'd be curious to think if you thought the same week. But when was the turning point for y'all?
I say there was two. I say there was one after the Raiders game, because that was the punch in the mouth that we needed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We came into that game with the wrong mentality that we just talked about. That we beat the Raiders the past 8 times we played them. It hasn't ever been close, and we just thought that we'd do the same thing. And they came in and made a statement on primetime television, it's exactly what we needed. And then the second one for me would be after that Buffalo game in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that was the moment that everyone had already counted us out at that point. No, it's going to be different. They've never played on the road, et cetera, et cetera. And that moment, and the way that the offense came together in that game particular, was the motivation and confidence that we needed to know that we can make this run. And there's always going to be adversity. And I think that's the mark of great teams is it's not if adversity, it's when adversity happens. It's going to come at some point. The media might turn on you, whatever's going to happen. But when that adversity comes, how do you respond to that? And how do you bring guys together and don't allow things to start busting at the seams?
Dude, I remember vividly y'all losing that game to the Raiders and then going to playing Cincinnati the next week. And I remember Willie Gay was hot on the sideline about somebody losing contain. Maybe it was Browning got out.
Mm-hmm.
And then y'all had that big red zone stop. And when y'all made that stop, I was like, yeah, they're going to be all right. It was like you had to get punched in the mouth, and you got punched in the mouth in the Cincy game too.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like by the time you guys were rolling, you'd been through so much shit. It was like nothing was going to shake you guys. And I wonder if some of those moments helped you go on the road, and like what were the challenges of going on the road? Like to me, Mahomes looks the same home, on the road. Like that's what people don't understand. But what was it tough for you, a team that's accustomed to playing at home with the mechanics of playing defense on home, communicating, to teach the younger players who hadn't been on the road to win on the road?
You know what? So there's a couple of parts to that question. The first part is, the hidden nice part about being getting everyone's best shot week in and week out is that's as close as you're going to get to playoff football before the playoffs come.
Yeah.
I mean, those games you're playing essentially, especially November, December, you're already playing playoff games because everyone is giving you their best shot.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're already doing that. And from playing in years when we're in Houston to where we're already knocked out of the playoffs in November, those December, November games, the speed of those games aren't the same.
Yeah.
So I think that those reps help us whenever the playoffs come around, that we're already at that speed. And then the second piece of it is, control the controllables. Like, home games, away games. Personally, I like away games.
Me too.
Like for me, I enjoy as fun as Arrowhead is, and Arrowhead is the best place on earth to play at. Just being able to go in somebody else's house and make a statement and hearing that crowd, 90,000 people go crying at the same time. Like there's no better feeling than that. You know what I mean?
I agree.
We embraced, Kelsey kind of said it famously. We embraced being the villain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're going to come in and step on people's hearts, man. And we embraced that and just ran with it.
Yeah. The best sound in football is just your teammates.
Yeah.
And the whole stadium. You use a couple screams in the crowd. You'll hear like a couple Buffalo fans like, but all you hear on the TV is you guys celebrating, and you're walking out of that field and you're like, all right, we're rolling. And it was so fun watching you guys go on the road. Buffalo was also kind of like in a playoff mode, which made that game incredible. They had to win for better part of 2 months. What did you see with Buffalo's offense changing a little bit? Like they went away from Diggs a little bit. They ran it through the tight ends. The first time they played you guys, they were doing some funky back switch stuff. And like Brady was different. What did you see was the difference for that offense getting on track and made them challenging in the playoffs?
Yeah. Well, as much as you can try and game plan, and we spent a lot of time game planning Stephon and their new tight end Kincaid, who I think is going to be a star coming in the future.
Yeah, he's great.
The one thing that you kind of can't game plan for is Josh Allen, and You know what I mean? You kind of put in a lot of coverages to take away his passing threats, and then the guy might still just roll out and break out of the pocket, and you know, a third down that you thought you had in the bag because you nailed the coverage call. You know, he pulls something out of his hat, and then they end up getting the first down out of it, and that's a little bit deflating for a defense that you know you had him dead to rights, and he finds a way out of it. So I think that just the type of caliber player that he is in itself, and to be able to make plays. Was just very, very challenging for any defense to go against. But I think they also found themselves in the run game. They love pull schemes. They love tackle over schemes. They do tackle pulls from the left to the right side. So some of those, if you're not prepared for it, can end up gashing you.
Yeah, and I would imagine I'm asking a defensive back this. Like, I know up front when we play Josh Allen or somebody like that, the D-line coach is puckered up all week. And the guys they're tight. They're like, we can't let him out. But the guys at the second level, when a play breaks down, the scramble drill or an extension, I would imagine it's really hard on like flat corners and people close to the ball because they got to come off coverage. Who do you think is the hardest on?
Ooh, the hardest is probably that's a tough question. I think that cornerback is just the hardest position to play on defense in general, just because you're running backwards trying to cover people. But especially if those defensive ends, I think that is extremely tough on them because their job and their moneymaker is to go and create pressure. And you kind of handcuff them a little bit by saying, we want you to win, but you can't win by picking a side because then he's going to run out. You know what I mean? So that makes it really hard on those guys, especially how athletic that Josh is. So, yeah, one of those two.
Is he a tougher tackle than a tight end? Like, because I feel like when he's in the open field, is it a product of the space that he's allowed because he's a quarterback?
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know, tight ends when they're getting the ball, like usually those guys are trying to get upfield like right now, like as fast as possible. But quarterbacks, one, they have so many extra protections, and you know, I know that they are supposed to lose those when they're a runner, but you know that there's still extra protections that's going to happen because it's the most important position on the field. But also because you know, you're still worried about him throwing the ball. When we played him in the playoff game, he broke out, ran past the line of scrimmage, and then did a lateral to the sideline about 30 yards to his left. And that ended up going for a first down. So you're not going to – I mean, I know Kelsey does that sometimes, but you're not going to see tight ends usually do that.
Yeah. No, it was unbelievable. The Baltimore game, my one question about that game is, and I felt like y'all controlled the game the entire way, especially because they couldn't get the run game going. And I wonder, going in that week, how detailed the plan was in the run game and how much of an emphasis that was, because it felt like they came out of the half, and I think maybe you stuffed them right out of the half off tackle. And it was like they said, fuck this. And they never went back to it. You got any idea why?
You know what? I'm not exactly sure why they abandoned it, but I'm kind of glad that they did. But it was really that was the entire game plan. The entire game plan, and we know Lamar can throw the ball, and he's such a dynamic passer as a quarterback too. But that team is brute and bronze, and it's blue collar, and we're going to run the ball down your throat. So we knew if you don't stop the run, you know, they're not going to stop running it. Yeah. So the emphasis was to stop the run, and we wanted to make a statement there that we could both match and exceed that physicality, and try and change the dynamics of the game, make them change what they were doing to find a different way to beat us than running the ball.
And they were down. Were you down Willie in that game? Willie Gay was down in that game, I think. You guys had some injuries too.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment, the way you guys bottled.
Yeah, beginning of the fourth quarter, they're going in to get within 3. You give Justice Hill a little shove, and then Zay Flowers fumbles going into the end zone, and you're the first one to point going the other way. Were you sure that the ball was out and that McDuffie was on it, or was that pure acting?
No, I seen it. Yeah, I seen it. I had a front row seat to it.
Yeah. That was such an amazing fucking game-changing play. And getting in the Super Bowl, I just wanted to talk about a couple game-changing plays. We're real high-tech here, so I got some video, and I just wanted to show you a couple things, some plays you made, and maybe you can color in some of the details with me, because I think we were all on the edge of our seats watching this game. It was like the margin for error on defense was razor thin. Okay. All right, so it's second quarter with 10-12 to go. It's 3rd and 8. you share a sack with Karlaftis, who played really well last year, and Kittle stays in. And I'm kind of wondering, in this scenario, are you adding, or is this a feel thing?
Yeah, hug rush. Really just trying to be there for contain, but also trying to show some color in the quarterback's vision in case there's any underneath routes that's right there.
Yeah.
Just discouraging him from throwing the middle, and then once he escapes out of the pocket, and you've seen that my guy was committed to blocking, then you just pull your trigger and go.
Now, do you love playing behind this defensive line? Because one of the reasons I think they're so good is everybody does their jobs. You know, like Spags has them doing their jobs, and their jobs are not simple. They're in 6 techniques. They you know, you run a bunch of fire zones. It's like, it can be tough, but it always feels like they rush as a group well. When you add, do you notice that?
Yeah, no, 100%. This is the deepest playbook that I've had 5 different defensive coordinators.
Tell me about
This
it.
is by far the deepest playbook that I've ever been a part of. We have so many different twists and schemes, and guys just buy in. They buy into the playbook, they buy into the scheme, and trust that what Spags cooks up week in and week out is going to work. So, rush as a group. The details are extremely important. If you have contain, you have contain. If you were supposed to rush through the B gap and contain there, and then pop outside late to contain the quarterback, you do that. You know what I mean? And it's not always about you making the play. It's about you setting up your teammate to make the play. And, you know, we buy into that.
I feel like he layers his calls. I mean, not just pre-snap, but like you just talked it out, for a defensive lineman, there would be directives like post-snap. Like, hey, if you get this, you got to cross face. And for a lot of defenses, that's just too much to ask the guys up front. But obviously, you got some ball players. So second clip, I want to go fourth quarter, 3rd and 4. This was a hell of a play. You guys force a field goal. McDuffie comes on the slot blitz. You got CMC with the game on the line. What are you thinking when you draw that assignment? Talk me through, like, you know, the 3 seconds before the play and what's on your mind reading his release and alignment.
Yeah, so I know from personal experience playing with C-Mac that he loves these option angle routes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's his go-to thing, and I knew that we had some late help inside. So if I'm watching the right play, he ends up juking across and running across the field on this one. Or this is the one where Trent is blitzing.
Right. Yeah, this is
okay. This is the one where Trent gets a hand on the ball.
There you go.
Knocks it down. Yeah, he ends up putting a good move on the outside hezzy to try and create some space and break back inside. Purdy was actually looking the other way, and Trent just makes a great play getting the hand on the ball.
I just want to say angle route and Madden.
Oh.
All right. Okay, next one. We've got OT, 7:34 to go, 3rd and 4. You guys force a field goal, and you're behind Chris Jones coming on a blitz. And I'm wondering, talk me through what the emphasis on this play is, and did you anticipate Chris coming free?
Yeah, actually, no. They busted the protection on this one.
Right.
So I'm coming through, getting ready to blitz through the A gap, and Chris just is unblocked and runs right through it. So I'm already playing because I rushed through this gap, and then I'm supposed to wrap around if someone comes to me to try and pull attention to open it up for the next guy.
Yeah.
But it was just wide open. So I kind of take the step like I was about to wrap, and then I was like, okay, Chris is already through, dude. So I'll just keep going through this hole.
Yeah. I cannot believe they busted that.
Yeah.
It's just like the one guy to turn loose. It's you almost can't believe your eyes. Okay, and then the last one here, game winner to Hardman. You're not on the field, but I want to show this one because I've seen one of these same spot in the field where I know if that ball is caught, it's time to celebrate. What's the first thing going through your head? What's the first thing you did?
Oh, going nuts. Threw my helmet, ran straight on the field to go find me Cole or Pat, whichever one I was able to get my hands on first. But that play is so crazy because, you know, Patrick actually freelanced that play. It was actually supposed to be a shovel pass, but Bosa blew it up. Bosa blew up the shovel pass where it wasn't there.
Yep, I see it.
Patrick just saw that McCole was open. He wasn't really supposed to get the ball on this play, but this is just part of the Mahomes magic on what he does, and he's just a baller and makes things happen. He saw an opportunity, he took it, he threw the ball, and you know, it's game over.
Unbelievable. I can remember when Brady when we were playing the Falcons and we go into overtime and we get the ball, me, Hightower, Ninkovich, Alan Branch, we took our helmets off and we said, we're not going to need these.
Yeah.
We're going to sit down for a little bit
Yeah.
and watch the show. Is it the same thing when Mahomes got the ball last?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. We were all just, front row seat of the action. At the moment that I think it was 4th down on our own 30-yard line on that same drive.
Yeah.
And that we were able to convert on that play. At the moment they converted, it was like, that's ball game. I already know at this point. That was their best chance to stop us. And we made it through. They're not going to stop us going down this field anymore.
I also felt like the loss of Greenlaw was huge for them.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy. You're running off the sideline.
I know, dude. I felt so bad for him. But the whole dynamic of the game changed after he left, and it was like you guys just the experience shined through. All right, I want to talk about this kickoff deal because you're the first person that when this news came across, we were like, yes, dude. We get to see.
And we
Justin.
might have added some time to my career. We might have extended my shelf life.
The earning window is huge.
When I'm done being the starting guy on safety, I can turn into that rotational third safety and also be a kickoff specialist.
It's a lot easier than when Martellus Bennett used to talk about, I'm going to play tackle till I'm 40 when I can't run anymore. I was like, bro, that doesn't sound very fun. But tell us what we don't know, because we've studied it, but obviously there are some gaps in the tracking that the NFL could do on certain averages where it was last showcased in what was it, the UFL? UFL, XFL, one of these leagues. Yeah. But it's not apples to apples. And I don't think it's apples to apples because I think a big differentiating factor is the special, like a Tyreek Hill catching the ball in our league.
Yeah.
Like, your best players can get the ball. What do you think is the thing people aren't thinking about?
Well, you know what? One is that, the whole dynamic of hang time has completely flipped. Mm-hmm. Normally on kickoff, kickers get graded trying to have a 4-second hang time to give guys time to get down the field.
Right.
But now you're trying to keep the ball as low as possible while still in play so that you're trying to get it to hit the ground, because when the ball hits the ground, that's now your hang time. Guys can take off at that point, and however much time it takes to return or to pick up the ball, that's them wasting time. So that whole dynamic is just completely flipped on his head. It's a different kick. It's a different style. It's a lot more aggressive trying to hit the low ball. And I think that's just a new dynamic that you didn't see in the XFL, because those guys are trying to show the NFL that they can kick the hang time balls.
Yeah.
So I think that the style of kicks you see from the get-go will just be different. And then secondly is the amount of plays that can be broken. When you have special talents like a Tyreek or some of these other explosive returners, there's an open gap somewhere on that field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They have 10 blockers and we have 10 attackers, but everybody has 2 shoulders. So there's an open gap somewhere. And the advantage for us is that if I'm doing the job, which is what we're planning on doing, then I can fill that last gap. So it makes it a little bit easier that nobody needs to win 2 gaps. Like, hey, you win your gap, everybody's gap's out. Of course, you're going to try and always arm over and win across at late. But it's a little bit more comfortable knowing that you're responsible for 1 gap instead of every person on the field trying to 2 gap and hoping the returner doesn't find that last open gap.
Does it feel more like a screen kind of play, or does it feel like defense more than special teams?
Yeah, it feels.
You know what I mean?
More like it feels like that last play of the game.
Right.
That last play of the game. The toss, hook and ladder, all that stuff. That's what it feels like. Like guys are running. You don't know exactly what you're going to get, but you're trying to be disciplined and just try and make a tackle when it comes to you.
Is Butker side-eyeing you, or is he like, hey man, have at it? I don't want any part of that.
No, Buck. We're in a great place with it. I think although I know he can make some tackles, I think that he's excited to preserve himself and we can use him where we really need him, which is those fourth quarter situations to go nail a 60-yard field goal and win the game. Yeah. It would be devastating to try a guy out there who's feeling nicked up from making a tackle in the second quarter.
That's the biggest one. It's like, they'll tell some kickers just fall down, don't tackle. I mean, it's you're going to lose a kicker or two if you try to trot him out there, and that's really important. So how cold was that Miami game, dude? I know how cold it was on the screen and looking at the temperature, and like I played in 0-degree game.
Yeah, no, I feel bad for the guys in the crowd. So I actually called some guys that play in the Canadian League to get their advice on kind of what to do about it. And I shared it with the team. And one of the interesting tips that they gave us was, he said, don't hug the heater. He said, heater is for your hands and feet only. Do not warm your torso, your core body temp with the heater, because it's like a pacifier for a baby. Every time you do it, it's going to get harder and harder to run back out into the field. So he said, don't hug the heaters.
Were they pro jacket? Are you okay to put that jacket on?
Yeah, you can put the jacket on. You can put the jacket on. You can layer up. There's no heroes in trying to show skin when it's negative 27 outside.
There had to be one.
Just very, yeah, bro. The Miami players came out with their shirts off, bro. I was like, bro, like, what are y'all doing? Like, who are y'all trying to impress right now?
Not for you to co-sign.
I was there with 3 layers in warm-ups, and they had some guys with their shirts off, bro. I was like, bro.
Not for you to co-sign this statement, but coming out there with your shirts off, and then you got Sneed punking you on the sideline at the end of the game, after that incompletion to Waddle, and nobody moves. I'm like, bro, you just got alpha. Yeah. I mean, like, you can't be out here like tough guys, man. Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like, did you feel like the Dolphins? You played the Dolphins, I feel like, was it week 4 or something?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere early when we were in Germany, Frankfurt.
Yeah, in Germany. And it was probably nice and the whole thing. So you got to see, like, the Dolphins at their fastest. Were they slower out there in the cold?
Yeah, definitely. That was a different team. The ice neutralized a lot of that speed. And, after the first quarter, you can tell that, some of those guys really just didn't want to get hit. And, at that point, you're an aggressive defense. You just feed off of that. You just bear down more on them.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. And how bad was the ground? You guys were all in 7 studs, right?
Yeah, we're all wearing 7 studs, and it's that same thing. When it hurts more for them, you don't feel it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, but I've heard coaches pleading with DBs for years, like 11 years. I heard it. Make sure you're in the right cleats. It could be cold as hell out there. Would be Soldier Field. Dudes would still try to be fast. You know what I mean?
Well, that was the argument when we played the Eagles in last year's Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, literally every defensive meeting, the first Coach Spags flashed, like, he had it like maybe 6 or 7 times throughout the meeting. Like, he'll show a play. We talk about the practice. Then they'll just flash up the same slide saying, wear the right cleats. And he'd be like, well, how did that get there? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then, like, you watch a couple more plays, it flash up again.
Yeah.
Like 7 times a day, every practice for 2 weeks, he did that.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Eagles game and the first half of it, there's a lot of plays on there. I mean, everybody was slipping, but you could see that the Eagles players are feeling it a little bit more than we were.
Yeah. I knew it had to be. It's one of those shoe choice things. It's like, man, I'm watching D linemen fall down. It's like, well, getting those 7 studs. I just want to ask you about a couple guys on your team, man. I thought McDuffie, finally, by the end of the year, people knew what he was about. Like, he got his credit.
Dog.
And just an absolute dog. And easy to get overshadowed at times by Sneed, because I think Sneed's the king dog in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, Sneed is a bully. Yeah, he's a bully, he's a straight up bully.
He's a bully. What's the worst you ever saw Sneed bully somebody out there?
Aside from the Tyreek one, I mean, who we playing? We're playing the Jets, and Garrett Wilson didn't get off the line of scrimmage. He quick jammed him and literally ran him into the defensive line. Like, he didn't get 1 yard up the field, and then, like, he pushed him over, like, to the ground. Like, it was.
I fucking crazy. Love that. I love watching that dude, man. He's like a D lineman back there. He really has that mentality, and he's got to have the longest arms in the defensive secondary.
Yeah, he's long. He played safety in college, which is where all of that aggression comes from, and then he converted to a corner and got the footwork right, and yeah.
But McDuffie, just what makes him so good?
He's just a technician. Like, when you say the blueprint of technique. Like, you know what I mean? Hand placement, foot placement, balance, strength. Underrated part of his game that you might not see from his physique, because he might look like a smaller guy, is he is strong as hell.
Yeah.
Like he's probably our strongest. And you know, what I mean, I'm 217 pounds and I'm not a weak DB.
Yeah.
He's one of our strongest DBs in the room.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
in the weight
he
room,
plays like it.
squats. Yeah, like he'll bench press an offensive guard that pulls on him. You know what I mean? It always catches him off guard. But he's just a super technical guy that is humble and works hard and is willing to do any job. You know what I mean? He has no complaints about, oh, I don't want to do this, or I want to be outside today, I want to be inside today. It's kind of, hey, whatever is best, wherever you want to put me, I'm willing to go do it, which helps us tremendously.
You guys had some injuries last year, and one of the guys I thought stepped up big was Drue Tranquill. You know, just another guy that when you hear Spags talk, him coming on the show, he's like, you know, you talk about dirty work guys, like being willing to do whatever and stick his face in the fan.
Former chess.com BlitzChamp winner.
Who?
Drue Tranquill.
Oh,
Really?
yeah. Second time, back to back.
Have you run a game with Drue?
Yeah, me and Drue played the whole time throughout the year.
No way.
Yeah, the whole year.
Did he take the year off this year? Or what happened? He got fat and happy after
No,
his championship?
lucky for me, we actually didn't see each other in the round robin play.
Okay.
He was playing some other guys, but he played.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about on the field, off the board here. Why is he so important?
One is his intelligence and his physicality, in that he picked up the playbook like impressively fast.
Yeah.
For how deep this playbook is and how complicated it is, and to play Mike backer and then be the one telling the D-line what to do and make all the checks and adjustments. I mean, and Nick gets hurt early in the year and he takes over the job that whole time. We didn't really have much of a drop off from that. So you just can't like that type of stuff saves seasons.
No question.
So he was able to do that, and then now he gets to be the guy with the departure of Willie Gay. It's going to be we really have two Mike backers on the field.
Right.
You know what I mean? That can really work together really well.
And they know the whole damn defense. Do y'all still run Spartan?
Spartan? No, we don't run Spartan.
Thank God, dude. Fuck, I hated Spartan. Spartan 9 or whatever the fuck it was. Okay, last question for you here. You got a rookie. Everybody's making a big deal about, you know, Hollywood Brown and, you know, there's Rashee Rice talk and all this stuff. But this kid from Texas, Worthy, there's a reason they took him. Are you seeing it in practice?
You know what? I haven't seen it yet, only because he hasn't been on the field yet.
He hasn't.
Yeah, he hasn't been. He's been rehabbing. I think he maybe tweaked some, nothing serious, but he hasn't been practicing yet. So
he's a good kid.
I haven't got a chance to see him on the field. I can tell you that Hollywood is blazing.
He's blazing. Yeah.
Yeah, Hollywood is blazing. That guy can roll. But I can't wait to see what he does. I mean,
did
you break an NFL record, you got to be at least, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got to see the fireworks.
No question. Did you see Willie Lanier talking shit to Hollywood at practice about how he would like decapitate him if he played back in the day?
No.
It's incredible. Old OG Willie Lanier out there. There's a video on Reddit. We'll send it to you, but it's Lanier just talking cash shit to Hollywood, and I loved it. All right, cool. You got any other questions for Justin, big fella?
Would you rather go back to back on chess.com or win 3 Super Bowls in a row?
Hey, you know, I apologize to Andy and all my friends at chess.com, but there's nothing I want more than the 3-peat. You know what I mean? Like nothing.
That's Last Dance stuff, dude.
Yeah. There's a 30 for 30 coming out about this.
Yeah. Somebody's gonna look at you guys the same way as we look at those bowls that you pull this thing off. So hey, good luck. Be enjoying watching you play, and stay healthy, man. Tell Spags I said hello.
I will. Appreciate you guys.